All right, let's pivot to the budget and we're going to start with you, Loren CULP. There was some good news, actually, from the state's Economic and Revenue Forecast Council, which said last month that the projected budget shortfall will not be as bad as first thought, but still significant, as well over $4 billion. I know you used the words pigeonholing earlier, but those are bigger numbers than anything that you have had to deal with in Republic or Ferry County. In fact, your police station is smaller than the TVW building that we are in right now. So what is your plan? Where do you cut?
Yes, and a career politician is obviously doing a great job. So what we have to do is freeze spending. As soon as they take office, we're going to freeze spending. We're not going to have any new programs, no pay raises, no new equipment. We're going to take a snapshot in time and find out where we are. And then we're going to take a look and do programmatic cuts from the bottom up. And that's the way it's got to be done. Look at every program. And it's going to be the hard work. I'm not going to do like the current governor does and suggests all the time, across the board cuts. That's the lazy politician's way of doing it. In the business world, which I spent 20 years in, if you do across the board cuts, you're cutting your sales force. You're cutting your fuel for your crews to get to jobs. You're cutting your advertising budget. It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Across the board cuts are the politicians' lazy way of doing things. We need to go through the budget line item by line item and do a programmatic cuts. And I would start specifically with anything that has the word study in it. Politicians love to study things to death. They spend and waste millions and millions of dollars on study after study after study, but it's a way for crony capitalism. It's a way for them to get money to their friends.
Well, let me follow up with you, Governor. There are going to be spending needs, but there are also spending shortfalls. Despite that good news, the state transportation's revenues are short $701 million coming up in this next budget cycle. You look at a place like West Seattle with a need for fixing a bridge there. It's a bridge that not only supports 100,000 people, but the Port of Seattle, the Washington State ferry system, Sound Transit down the road. Can the state afford to put money into transportation projects given the revenue shortfalls right now?
Well, I will be talking to legislators. I actually had discussions yesterday with them to see about a potential transportation budget in the next session. And we have had huge progress. We passed the largest transportation budget and the most environmentally friendly budget, perhaps in state history, after the Republicans said no for 3 years. So I am willing to fight for transportation. And I think we need a big capital budget this year so we can actually put people to work. But obviously we need to look at rational cuts. I actually have cut over $500 million myself by executive action in the last 2 months. So over $1.5 billion. I've already made those cuts. And those were painful at times, but they were necessary, and I've already prepared us to get us in better position. And I've been vindicated in my decision about special session because we have got $4.5 billion extra revenue moving forward. But the plans I have seen from Chief CULP and the Republican parties essentially boil down to taking away people in the middle of a pandemic. We should not take away health care from people who have cancer or COVID right now in the middle of a pandemic. We should not take away their mental health. We should not take away the right for a women's right of choice and the ability to finance that. And that is very much at risk right now.
And Governor, I'm going to need to cut you there on time, Governor, and I want to give Chief CULP you a chance to rebut the governor. He just said he was vindicated in his decision to not call for a special session. Do you feel the same way? And do you also feel that there should be any sort of state money put to a project like the West Seattle Bridge that engineers feel could collapse?
Well, it's kind of funny what he takes credit for, but everything that goes wrong is somebody else's fault. And this is a governor, he's talking about not taking money away from the taxpayers. Well, maybe we should talk about the $164,000 a week that this governor paid a global consulting firm to tell him what to do and what to say on the COVID crisis. And I didn't misspeak. $164,000 per week is a no-bid contract that he signed with a global consulting firm. That's taxpayer money. How many businesses that he put out of business would that help? How many small mom and pop shops would that help? How much unemployment got sent overseas? Maybe that could be put into there instead of in a global consulting firm to tell him what to think and say.
Governor Inslee, I'd like to give you a chance to rebut the claims just made there by Chief Culp. You have 45 seconds.
I have no idea what he's referring to, but we have made good decisions on dealing with COVID. Let's talk about what's really on the table here. That is whether we're going to save lives, whether we're going to have leadership to help people wear masks, which Chief Culp has never provided. Not only has he disagreed with my orders, but he hasn't been willing to show leadership, which is kind of modeling your behavior. Going around in rallies with no mask, hobnobbing with the Trumpians. You know, we just can't, it's too dangerous to have a mini Trump right now in the middle of this pandemic. That's what is at risk. And I am in favor of saving lives. I am in favor of following science. I am in favor of valuing everybody's life and not diminishing them. And I'm in favor of doing things that are working. Our efforts against this pandemic are working. It's saving lives, and we ought to keep doing it.
Governor, Chief, thank you.